Good evening. Welcome to the Town of Dudley Planning Board meeting for Wednesday, February 23rd. Present this evening, we have Richard Clark, our Vice Chairman. Steve Latrober is not with us this evening as of yet. Thomas Chinaki, member. Daniel Edmiston, member. William Scanlon, Acting Town Planner, and myself, Guy Horn, Chairman. First item on our agenda for this evening is approval of minutes from February 9th, but I believe that's,
We didn't have a chance to get those ready for tonight, so
Okay.
we'll have them next meeting.
all right. We have, the first thing is at 7:05. Do we want to take one of the A&Rs out of order just to get that done? Or we got time?
You might mention that we're waiting for another member to arrive.
Yep, we are waiting for another member to arrive. You haven't got a text back from him?
No, I have not yet.
Okay. So, and the first thing on our agenda after the minutes was, excuse me, 7:05, review the draft decision and possible vote on the Fish Road definitive plan. But given that we have time, we'll skip down to number 6, A&R plans. And I believe we have one tonight for 92.5 Tracy Road, Evergreen Realty Trust. Can we take a look at that? Take a look at that one? That would be under number 6, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, F. Or maybe E? Not seeing it. Yep.
Seen it already, I don't need it.
You guys wanna see?
Yep.
What tab are we looking for?
I don't think we have
I
it.
don't think it happens.
It's not in the tab?
I don't see it.
I've already seen it, I don't need it, thank you though.
Do you have the checklist, Bill?
Yes.
Okay.
Not asking for any waivers.
They're not asking for any waivers?
No.
Okay, and so it's basically creating 2 lots out of 1 lot, so lot A and 92B. They're both over. All right, so on 92A, George, you said that there's the
Variance.
frontage, something about the frontage?
Yes, there was,
Sorry.
I only had 100, I have a variance for it.
Okay, and that's already been granted?
Yep,
Okay.
it's already been
Who
recorded
granted the
too.
variance?
Excuse me?
Who granted the variance?
Zoning Board of Appeals.
Okay. And the contour on the drawing for the proposed driveway that will cross that 130-foot frontage on Dudley Southbridge Road, that's gonna be that's a slope downward off the road, not a slope upward,
It's,
according to
right,
the drawing?
correct,
There's a profile on the
Yeah,
plan too.
okay.
yeah.
So if that was gonna be your proposed access, you'd have to get that to the 6% grade?
Right.
Okay. All right. Topography's there, wetlands are there. Upland calculations, building factors. Okay. So would somebody wanna make a motion to approve the A&R plan of land for 92.5 Tracy Road in Dudley, Mass. with no waivers?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion that we accept the A&R plan from 92.5 Tracy Road as presented.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
No second?
Any questions?
So if you don't want to approve, you have to have a reason why you
Right.
not a valid approval not required plan. In that case, it would be deemed a subdivision, have to go through a definitive plan process to subdivide the lot.
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, all right.
Bill, do you have a copy of the paperwork that we need to sign?
Yep.
So 2 copies of this, 1 copy of the Mylar, and then the paperwork?
Got yours.
Another second copy?
Okay to use the blue one?
Yep.
Thank you.
Got too many microphones. Get this one in. You good?
Okay.
Thank you.
Done.
Do I take that, or?
I think you can.
I'll check with Bill. Yeah.
Bill, he can take the
Mylar?
Mylar?
Excuse me?
He can take the Mylar?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay.
Just dry a little bit? A little smudgy? Okay.
Okay. We'll jump back to our regular agenda at 7:05, review draft decision and possible vote on the Fish Road definitive plan. This is in B.
Sure, I just had a conversation. I think they'd like to wait and see whether Steve shows up for a while before taking action on those.
Okay, so the definitive plan is, okay. On both items? Okay, so we'll wait on item 3 and 4?
Yes.
Okay, so we can go on to, we can't go on to that because it's 7:15.
Pay the bills?
Can't anyway, they've asked for an extension.
Was-
Stevens,
Yeah.
they didn't want,
Was there yeah, so do we have to, could we just continue Stevens Lennon before waiting for 7:15 or?
No, I'd wait to 7:15.
Okay. So did we get anything from Country Club Estates?
No.
Okay, so do we want to talk about the zoning amendments?
It's gonna be a long discussion. We could we could start it if you like.
What else do we have?
Pay the bills?
Okay, pay the bills.
yeah.
Yeah?
Got some other information on, yeah, we had some information on Piastra, on the shared streets program.
Yep, let's do that.
Okay.
Is that under, okay. So inspections and actions associated with site plans, so we got Legacy Landing, Country Club Acres, SEP Solar. That's not the, those not the bills are down here. So approval of consultant vultures payments. We have one, review of Stephen Lynn's traffic study at $1,519.93. We have another review of Stevens Mill traffic at $473.38. Are those the only two that we have right now?
Yes.
Okay. Somebody like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we approve payment of the Stevens Mill traffic review of $1,519.93, and review of this, well, actually, both of Stevens Mill traffic review, the second one being for 473.48.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll make a motion to second that.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. So, do we need to sign 2 copies of those?
Yes.
I got 1 copy here.
Yeah, legal aid here for 182. What is that? You get the appropriate?
Yep.
Alright, let me sign your copies.
You guys got a second copy rolling, or should I start one?
If you could start one, that'd be great.
Feel free.
So next thing we can look at. Notices. Bill, where would we look for the, said that there was something that came in with Piasta Road? Okay, it's in the section E.
What do you want now, Mr. Chairman?
I'm on, Piasta Road, section E, it was in our folder. We had a, report back from Graves Engineering. And as-built review, looks like it was approved, Form H. There's a letter here from the, from Lakeshore Legal LLC. Huguenot Development Corporation hereby petitions the Conservation Commission of the Town of Dudley to accept the gift of a certain parcel of land situated in the Town of Dudley, County of Worcester, Massachusetts, being shown as open space on the plan entitled Modification to an Existing Definitive Subdivision Plan, Plan of Land, Piasta Road, dated May 1st, 2005, recorded at the Worcester Registry of Deeds, in Plan Book 836. Plan 125, parcel contains 9.23 acres plus or minus. Proposed gift deed is attached here too. Huguenot Development will accept the appraised value of the land as a gift amount. Applicant certifies the undersigned is the owner of the land involved in the aforesaid requested private road adoption. Mark Becker, Director. There's a copy of the deed.
So I think, I just wanted to bring this before you tonight to see what your preference was. Looks like everything is in order for the street to be accepted.
Okay.
As you mentioned, they are planning to donate over 9 acres of open space to the town for conservation purposes.
Yeah.
I have the completed inspection schedule
Mhm.
from your engineer, Jeff Walsh, who's said everything has been done. We have the acceptance plans that he's been reviewing and working with the engineer on to get those in final condition. So I just wanted to see if you were ready to take action on that, or if you wanted to hold off a bit, just, for whatever reason, but
Okay, so the town's already been out and looked at it too, right?
yes,
All right.
yes,
And
Jeff.
the-
Ran, a
Yeah,
couple of
yeah,
planning board
yeah.
members went out,
Yeah.
and there was a punch list of items, and they were taken care of.
Okay,
So the planning board, you know, has to eventually vote to say that it's complete. And then at that point, whatever security we're holding, we return back to the applicant because we don't need it anymore. And the plan is to bring it to town meeting in May for acceptance as a town way.
okay. And we only need a simple majority for this vote?
Yes, I don't have it on the agenda for tonight. It was really just a discussion item
Okay,
to see if you were ready to do that.
okay. Well, we can,
So we would not then be able to actually vote on or act on it until our
I'd
next
rather
meeting?
not. I'd rather have it on the agenda.
It should be on the
So the
agenda.
public is aware that that's coming up.
all right,
I don't
And-
see any problems with this going forward. but-
Okay.
okay. And you were one of the ones that went out to
Yeah.
look at it? Okay.
We're gonna put that on the agenda for the 9th, or?
Yes.
And I think Mr. Anderson, you'll have to probably excuse yourself on that one.
Right, Bill, so I live on PS, but I live in the front half, not the back half that we're talking about, but still I have to excuse myself, correct?
So, do you have a conflict of interest?
Again, I live in the front half that's already been accepted,
No.
so I don't
Can't go to
know,
the back half anymore.
other side of the hill, so.
To be safe,
Yep.
I'm not sure there's a real conflict of
Okay.
interest, but to be safe, I think you could just step aside for that vote.
Yep, easy enough.
Okay.
And hopefully at the next meeting, we'll have a full board, so it
Right.
wouldn't matter anyways.
Right.
All right. So,
Any other ones?
all right, so why don't we, it's a little bit past 7:15, so why don't we reopen the public hearing and the redevelopment of the Stevens Mill, only to continue it for the next meeting? We can do that now?
Mhm.
I don't have to read the,
No,
no, okay. All right, so, on
Mr. Chairman,
this,
I think for the record, we should note that the continuance is at the request of the applicant.
yes. Is there a actual letter in here?
yes.
Yeah, there is a form with this.
Can probably read that to the record.
I did get a form, I don't know if it made it into the binder,
Okay.
but I think I might have emailed it to you.
Right, yeah, it's part of the email record,
There was an email.
Yes, okay.
because their attorney had sent the request.
Okay. All right, so basically at the request of Stevens Linen Mill, we are gonna postpone the reopening of their public hearing until the March 9th meeting. There's still some outstanding, is it traffic study that we're waiting on?
I was hoping they would have the traffic study completed about a week or so ago, so we could have got it to our consultant to review, but we haven't even gotten the study yet, so
Okay, so,
hopefully we'll get it in the next day or two and then can have the peer review completed in time so we could discuss the traffic issues.
all right, so that would be the extent of it, is we're at least waiting on the traffic.
March 9th at 7:15.
7:15, yep. Okay. So what does that leave us with that we could talk about?
Standard business.
We've got zoning amendments.
Is Steve on his way, or?
He didn't pick up on his phone and he hasn't
Yeah.
responded to my text.
Okay. So do you want to start the zoning amendments?
Sure.
Okay. Zoning amendments.
So those are in, tab D.
Yep. So the first one that we have in our list is the marijuana overlay district. We received a letter from Mr. and Mrs. Doherty of Angel Farms in Dudley. And they say that they have given consideration and are asking us not to rezone the property into the marijuana overlay district. So if they are not asking us to do that, then we won't put that article forward at the town meeting.
I agree.
So,
Is there a reason for this change?
They came before you a meeting or two ago, and I guess they felt that the planning board wasn't enthusiastic about the request, and they wanted to be sure they had the board's full support before going forward, so.
All right, so at the last meeting, we did vote to have it as an article on the town warrant. So would we need to re-vote to not have it as an article?
Might as well, yeah.
Okay. Would somebody like to make a motion that we will not put the marijuana overlay district on the town warrant for the next coming town meeting?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we not put forward the marijuana overlay district in the town meeting.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll make a motion in a second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? That takes care of that. Okay. So the next one up is proposed rezoning of Fish Road, change from industrial 130 to residential 43. So if you look at the map that we have in our books, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lots. You know, it would just be, we would just be doing the standard res 43 change, so from industrial 130 to res 43. And did we,
So what that means is there are 3 vacant lots. One is privately owned,
Mhm.
and they had applied for a variance, but they couldn't get it because it was in an industrial 130 district, which doesn't allow residential uses.
right,
So this rezoning would make that lot eligible
for
for building
building
purposes.
So the vacant lots are included on this,
Yes.
in the zone, okay.
The other 2 lots that are map 210, lot 6 and 7 are town-owned lots. So those both would become
Res 43.
more valuable as residential lots. The town could sell those
Okay,
for housing purposes, or to somebody to build houses on them. 'Cause I don't know if the town has any municipal purpose for those lots out in that area. But, of course, the town could hold on to them if they wanted to as well, so there's nothing that says they have to sell them, but there's no reason really to hold on to them either, so.
are all the lots that are currently designated on here, lots 4 through 12, are they all over 1 acre?
Are they what?
Are they all over 1 acre?
Yes.
Yeah, so we wouldn't have any non-conformances.
I don't believe so.
Okay. And that was at a request of the landowners to do this?
Yes.
Okay. And did we vote at the last meeting, I can't remember, did we vote to make that did we make it a motion for the next town meeting?
No, I don't think we
No,
did.
okay.
Felt that we did, no.
Okay. So would we
So-
wanna make can we?
So what, the process, of course, is to advertise public hearing for these articles, so.
Right.
if you vote tonight to go forward, then I'll include that, all of these into one legal ad to advertise the public hearing.
Right. So, would somebody like to make a motion that we sponsor an article for the rezoning of 8 of the lots on Fish Road from industrial 130 to residential 43?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we go forward with sponsoring a article on the warrant to rezone from industrial 130 to residential 43, 8 lots as indicated on Fish Road.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. So that one's all set. The next one we have is proposed zoning map change, land on West Main Street. You refresh my memory on this one, Bill?
Yeah, we haven't actually talked about this one yet, so
Okay.
that's why it doesn't ring a bell.
All right,
The property that you have before you outlined in yellow or in sort of an orange color, is land the town acquired through tax title, through failure to pay taxes. At one point, there was a preliminary plan that came before the planning board for about 95 lots on this tract of land. And the planning board denied the preliminary plan. This was back in about 2000. And then, I don't know the story, but eventually the landowner stopped paying taxes, and so the town took it for back taxes. So this is now town-owned land. And as you see, there's a zoning line that goes, about 2/3 of it is light industrial 43 and about 1/3 is res 87. So what we thought would be an appropriate use for this property is an industrial use. So, or an office use, or some non-residential use to enhance the town's tax base. So we could do that in just the LI 43 portion, but we thought it would make sense, we meaning sort of town administrator and highway superintendent, that it would make sense to rezone this so the town would have a large parcel that it could market for economic development. And I've been working on a potential grant application to do a feasibility study for this property to see how suitable it would be for some kind of a light industrial park. And I think, the zoning would become an issue. So we'd like to sort of get that in front of the voters now to see whether they're, willing to accept this entire tract as a light industrial parcel that could be marketed and sold and developed for some kind of light industrial park.
And we wouldn't have a problem that all we're changing is like half of a lot?
Yes.
It's not gonna be considered spot zoning?
I don't think so. It's town property, it's just,
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I have some serious reservations here. The last two selectmen's meetings that I'm aware of, the police chief has spoken of the issue with regards to traffic problems on Tufts Hill, so-called. And I think in the last meeting mentioned specifically 2 serious rollover accidents, as he characterized them. Developing this as industrial property is only going to add traffic to what is, I believe, identified by the police chief as a dangerous area. I don't think this makes any sense at all, quite frankly. Mr. Wetruba in one of our previous meetings made mention of that area in terms of the number of streams that he feels are coming down off of that hill. I haven't had the intestinal fortitude to park on the road and actually walk in there, but driving by, I've noticed there seems to be a number of streams that are indicated there as well. This makes no sense to me at all. I know one of the things that, if I may, I don't want to take too much of our time, but if you go back to what is identified as our, if I can find the right page here, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, ask for your indulgence. One of the lines in our rules and regulations is to preserve the suburban character of the town. And reference prior to that is of safety, convenience, and welfare. I think this flies in the face of safety, convenience, welfare, and the character of the town.
to address 2 points. Traffic access is a valid concern, and I think that's something that the feasibility study could help address. You might need some kind of traffic control there, maybe a signal of some kind, to be able to, control traffic to get in and out of that area. So I don't have an answer to that question yet. I understand it's a somewhat dangerous stretch, but we'll have to see whether there's some way we could, do that safely.
Mr. Chairman, again, I don't identify any compelling reason for why we should go forward with this.
Yeah, I kind of back Richard's comments. Just when you drive past and you look over in those woods, it doesn't seem like it's a fit area for any kind of development whatsoever. I would rather see a feasibility report to see if it's even possible to build something back there before we start talking about rezoning. That's just my personal opinion right now.
So
So the main, impetus behind this is to tax base for the town. So if
create
we could
something.
take this 57.8 acres and turn it into a nice, innovation park or, high-tech manufacturing or something like that, could really enhance the tax base of the town. So
Right.
there aren't really any good developable industrial lots in town, and this would be a nice opportunity to be able to have something that we could offer prospective developers.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, who's putting this forward, please, if you would?
Well, I guess we could say the town administrator.
Town administrator?
Yeah. We
The,
talked about it, but
the other issue I think I'm looking at here is that, so the Res 87 section, if I'm looking at the zoning map correctly, The Res 87 section is further down the hill, or it could almost be onto the flat portion before the hill starts, right? The light industrial is definitely on the hillside.
Mr. Chairman, obviously, we don't see it here in detail, but I believe that the Conservation District is the portion that's on the flatter end of the hill, if you will. I think you're on the hill when you're talking about this particular property.
Like, I can't see what the name of the street, what's the street what is it, like Yummy's Restaurant's on there? I can't remember the name of the
That's
street.
Center Road?
Center Road. So I think this is very close to where the Center Road crossover is on
Correct.
197.
Yep.
The
So that-
property
when you get down
across
there,
the
it's-
street is largely owned by the Dudley Conservation Land Trust.
Right.
So there's a lot of protected open space on the other side of the street, opposite this parcel.
Some trails back there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so basically this is a request from the town administrator. So
Yeah.
We have, I mean, they can, the Board of Selectmen could put this on themselves. We would just have to make a report on it, right?
True.
Um,
Yeah, I applaud his foresight, but I would much rather see a feasibility study before, serious contemplation, this is my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so how do we wanna leave it? Let it wait for the study before we make a decision, and then
Or let the Board of Selectmen make the decision. I
They
mean,
can-
Right
they-
now, it's.
if they put it forward, we would have to make a report to it at the town meeting,
They
right?
can initiate submission of zoning articles,
Yeah,
so they could,
Mhm.
They
they
could
could
do it?
request that, and, you know,
okay,
put it forward, then you'd have to have the public hearing on it.
okay. All right, so we'll just leave it up to them and see what they wanna do.
Okay.
Okay, so that takes care of that one. All right, this next one was the rezoning amendment for, rezone property, part of the Conservation District, which is off of Dudley Oxford Road, Hayden Pond Road, to Res 87. It's approximate map. It's denoted on map 211, lot number 9, 16.25 acres. This was the land that's owned by the Williams sisters. They spoke at a couple of the meetings previously.
Didn't we vote on this last meeting to support this?
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a 4-1 vote on this one.
Mm-hmm.
So this one will just go forward and
Okay.
we'll sponsor it and see what happens. There's one more, right? The Aquifer Protection Zone. Can you explain this one, Bill?
Sure, this one just came up recently. When you look at this map, you see the large circles.
Yep.
Those are called interim wellhead protection areas, and that's a half-mile radius around town wells. Each town is supposed to adopt land use controls to protect their water
Excuse me,
supply.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
I may have missed a page or something here, I don't see anything that's, oh, no.
Yep, that's it.
All right,
There you go.
pages
Okay.
stuck together, thank you.
Okay.
We do kill trees though, don't we?
Yeah, well, we'll be cutting back on that once we get the
Hopefully.
new devices. So the DEP allows you to adopt the interim wellhead protection area until a community does the actual delineation of what's called the Zone 2. Zone 2 is the area that when you pump at the intended rate, it's the cone of depression of the groundwater that flows into the well. So the town has adopted the Aquifer and Groundwater Protection Overlay District, and the area in red is the area that they've adopted, including the interim wellhead protection area. Much to my surprise, I found out when we were reviewing the PFAS plant that there has been a Zone 2 study done already for the other wells in town. So, for example, if you look at the well by the blue area by Merino Pond, that blue area is the Zone 2, and the red area is the interim area. So the interim area is covering a much larger portion than it really needs to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's affecting property where the Zone 2 study has said it's not contributing to the town wells. So I went to the Water and Sewer Commission to see whether they would be interested in having this aquifer district amended to the actual Zone 2 rather than the interim Zone 2. And they had a couple of questions, and so we sent those to the hydrogeologist who did the study, and they've come back and said, yes, it makes sense really to go forward with the Zone 2 study, the Zone 2 area as the actual groundwater district. So they, I think, are going to vote at their next meeting to agree that this is an important initiative, that it should go forward.
So basically, everything that's in blue would be the protected area.
Correct.
And what's not in blue but is in red would be coming off of it.
Correct.
And they're gonna vote at their next meeting
I believe
to
so.
sponsor the bill themselves, or the article themselves?
Well, they're not eligible, they're not one of
Oh.
the entities that can sponsor, but they could ask you to sponsor. And so with their support, I think.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, to the planner, what is the advantage of taking property or taking land off of that? Does that benefit the property owners in some way?
Well, yes, you're restricting property owners who shouldn't be restricted.
Okay. So we have an additional area, it would appear, at the top of the page, or toward the top of the page.
Yes.
So those property owners will lose something then?
Yes.
Will
So
they be
that's-
informed, and we get a public hearing, obviously, on this?
Right. So that portion in town, you'll notice, is not near any town wells, but it is part of Webster's Zone 2. So by including that area, which is optional, by the way, you don't have to protect another town's water supply area. So we can, talk about that. If you don't want to, we could take that off. But I've included it thinking in terms of, intermunicipal cooperation. Part of Dudley's water supply extends into Webster, and they've got it protected. So it's kind of a reciprocal sort of arrangement.
Okay.
Certainly lacking in the technical knowledge in terms of how to interpret this, but it looks as though we've got three separate blue areas, and there's separation between them. I would have thought that at least with the existing aquifer district is contiguous, it seems to make a little more sense, quite frankly, than this sort of gerrymandering, if you will.
Well, for example, in the PFAS plant application you just reviewed, it's near Station 6, which, it shows up in blue here by Potash Brook. And so that Zone 2 is included in the blue area, and it's primarily, I think, more a function of the French River Valley having, groundwater supplies, which the town has tapped into. And the further away you get from that area, the less groundwater there is. So the Zone 2, I think, has been identified through, detailed hydrogeological studies to be the actual recharge area of the town's wells.
We are, the summation of this is we have existing aquifer district of 1,067.7 acres. The proposed aquifer district is 490 acres, and the difference is we're taking off 577.7 acres, or more than half.
So as you know, if you're in the aquifer district, there are certain things that require special permits. For example, if you want to make impervious 1,500 square feet or 25%, I forget what it is, you need to go to the Water and Sewer Commission for a special permit to do that. So that's, requiring homeowners to do something, pay money for plans and approvals when they're not even really in the district, the actual district.
So basically, if somebody had wanted to pave a parking pad in their yard that was over, what did you say, 1,500 square feet?
Yeah, or 25% of the lot. I forget what it is exactly, but, so they need a special permit, and as you know, that's a time and money issue for a lot of people.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move forward with this. I'd like to have a public hearing and actually see if we get any public feedback. I think that'd be incredibly interesting.
Okay, so, you said the Water and Sewer Commissioners are voting on it on the next meeting, but we would just be voting here to sponsor the article for them so that we can have the public hearing and get the feedback from the.
Yeah, I think we answered their question, so I don't see an obstacle for them to vote to go forward with this one.
Okay. All right, so, would somebody like to make a motion that we will sponsor the proposed Aquifer Protection Overlay District at the next town meeting?
Well, are we moving forward at first to have a public hearing, then to sponsor it, or is this a vote to automatically just simply sponsor?
We need to have somebody sponsor the article in order to go forward with a public
The
hearing.
public hearing. This is just to have the
Okay.
public hearing.
Then if I may, I'll make that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll
Second.
second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous? Okay. So that's the last zoning article.
Chairman, one final thought on this, I hope that Water and Sewer makes a presentation at this public hearing that we'll have
Okay.
upcoming.
Yep.
As they, hopefully will provide the expertise that we need. Thank you.
All right, so we'll go back to,
I think we're gonna have to move forward, Senator Trover's not here, and
yeah, so the only other two items that we have on the agenda this evening is the Fish Road definitive plan and the Fish Road marijuana cultivation special permit. Applicants here, we're still missing one member. Would you like to go forward, or would you like to postpone it to the next meeting?
Postpone, because we should probably do both at the same time,
Okay,
I'm assuming, right?
yep, is that all right with you? Okay, so we'll postpone those two to the next agenda on March 9th. And is there any other, well, we can ask if there's any comments from the audience tonight, because we have an audience.
I do have something else too, but we could go to comments first if you like.
Okay, anybody have any comments? Nobody's running up.
we really have an audience.
Excuse me, in the package you sent out, there was a petition for Misty Meadows. Is there
Yes.
anything we have to do about that? Or is that just for an FYI for us?
Oh, talk about it, sure.
Is there anything to talk about? I mean,
But there's a signature or something? on
They
it?
got
Yeah.
a number of signatures they needed for more than 50% of
Correct.
the frontage. So then it goes to the highway commissioners, which is the Board of Selectmen, correct?
Right, correct.
And then they will send out Gray's Engineering to do an
right,
assessment.
so there's no action on our part, that was just an FYI pretty much?
Yes.
All right, good.
What other business do you have, Bill, that we could?
I have an update on the shared streets and spaces program.
Okay,
So, the highway superintendent prepared a sketch that I received today, so that's why you get it in your packet.
was that this one?
Yes,
Okay,
so that, if you want to refer to that in your binder, that's in tab F, I believe. That was in a previous meeting that we didn't get to.
right.
Yeah, so it's the second sheet under tab F. And then this sketch that I just handed out, sort of fleshing out that photo markup that you have. So this is a concept that the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission is writing an application, a grant application under the Shared Streets and Spaces program. And we're estimating this cost to be about $200,000. What it entails is you can see crosswalks. Just to orient you, Airport Road is sort of, and Tanyard Road runs east-west, and Dudley Hill Road runs basically north-south. So there are crosswalks on all four legs of the intersection, and there will be handicapped, ADA accessible ramps with tactile pads meeting ADA standards at each of these crossings. There's about 1,000 linear feet of new sidewalk, most of it running down Airport Road to the Country Club Acres development. And then you can see a little bit extending up Dudley Hill Road and up Tanyard Road. And the area you see in hatched is intended to be striped with flexible posts as a temporary measure to narrow the width of those legs of the intersection to make it safer for when vehicles come into that intersection. So it's, in a way, it's kind of that part of it is a test to see whether it actually helps to reduce speed and make it safer. If that seems to work, then we can reclaim those spaces. And the thought would be there might be some green infrastructure kind of stormwater infiltration systems to minimize stormwater runoff, and so that there'd be, cleansing of that runoff through newly constructed features that would be, low-impact development kind of ideas. So that's kind of the concept. We are submitting, I think that application is due in a week or two. The selectmen, I think, are behind this, so they're the ones who are actually sponsoring the application. I brought it to you because it's on your complete streets list. So you've identified this as a problem intersection, which is how this whole thing came about to begin with. Since it's on the list, CMRPC came to us and said, let's pursue this grant application for this area. So it's sort of under your jurisdiction, but
So it's,
you're not sort of behind it.
it's not part of Complete Streets, it's something different.
It's a shared streets and spaces program.
So it's because we already got the Complete Streets for Mason Road
Yes.
for this year, so so this would be something different.
Yeah, different program,
And the
different area.
sidewalk only runs up to the country club acres?
Yeah,
Doesn't go all the way down?
down to,
You gotta take it in,
Country
you
Club.
gotta take it in bites, you can't put the whole road.
there's a limit of 200,000, so we're going for the maximum,
Right.
and this is
If
what we think we can get done.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I incidentally happen to live very close to this particular intersection, which is identified by signage as a dangerous intersection. And I've yet to understand what that means, but it is identified as such. One of the things that's happened recently, and I don't know how that came about necessarily, is the building, the large structure you see there, had been marketed as a golf course restaurant. What I've seen recently in the local press indicates that it is now defined as a bar, or being identified as such, for the use of Nichols College students. I don't know whose infinite wisdom came up with that idea. That is, again, a dangerous intersection. Access from the campus is going to be across through Tanyard, likely across Airport Road, unless they can helicopter in somehow. That parking lot that you see there, and when I thought we initially discussed this as part of the possible Complete Streets program, a concern I had was traffic coming out of the parking lot. They just go left, right, straight, up, down, around. I mean, there's no direction at all. People leave that parking lot from any possible or conceivable direction that you can imagine just looking at it.
So in the
And there's no, and this doesn't, unfortunately, this doesn't address that issue at all.
in the sketch, it shows the sidewalk going across the entrance of the parking lot. Is there any way they could put up some in and out lanes on, like on,
I know the highway superintendent has broached the idea of a flashing signal, not a signal, a flashing sign, to, get traffic to slow down. So that would be one way to improve the safety there as well.
All deference to the planner, I've lived in that area for about 40 years now, and that dangerous intersection sign hasn't slowed anybody down.
Mhm.
I don't know that putting lights on it is gonna make it any better. There is not a whole lot of enforcement, frankly, and I think that has contributed to at least part of the problem.
Just another point is, you've been invited to the Selectmen March 9th to talk about the Mason Road
Right.
design, and they wanted to bring CMRPC down that evening, since you'd be there already to talk about this program. So the ideas that you're mentioning, nothing is set in stone yet, so if you would like to, have some input into that, you're more than welcome.
I also, if I may, Mr. Chairman, March 9th, that is our next scheduled meeting.
Right, March 7th is the Board of Selectmen.
March 7th, thank you.
And if I may, I thought that, I'm not sure where our priorities were in terms of the Complete Streets program, but I know we had concerns about not this intersection, but not very far away from it, Dudley Oxford Road, Ramshorn Road, which sees a lot of, this is going to be at least college-age students trying to navigate this little disaster, if you will. But that is one that is frequented by kids from the high school who go through there on a regular basis in season, maybe a little bit less pandemic. But you see joggers coming through there, cross-country teams, you
All
see
the time.
groups of kids. Maybe 10 or 12 at a time coming through that intersection.
And that's,
I agree.
it's a toss-up. Neither one of these is good.
Mm.
But I thought that one might have been a little higher on the priority than this
I
one.
mean, I think it is, but that intersection requires a bigger solution than this program is prepared to offer. This is not intended to be redesign of an intersection. It's intended to make it more intersection more pedestrian friendly, safer, at a lower cost.
Right.
So I agree that's a problematic intersection that needs to be addressed, but
It's
just
gonna,
this
it's gonna
program
be
isn't
more than a
good fit for it.
$200,000 price tag that this program offers,
Right.
and that's the maximum, 200,000.
So there's no piece of that we could go forward with because we have to bite the whole apple, is that what we're saying?
Well, I think what Bill is saying, that they're assuming that that's reworking, what is it, Corbett, is it
Ramshaw and the Dudley Oxford Road.
Yeah, is gonna require more laying out the roads, or maybe that triangle changes, or it gets different, or something's gonna happen there.
Right, we'll need a real in-depth study to figure that out.
Right. All right, so the March 7th Board of Selectmen meeting, we've all been invited to that, so will you post that as a meeting for the planning board?
Yes.
So if that way there, if more than 3 people show up, it's okay that we have a quorum.
I'm gonna stay with this a bit longer if I may,
Sure.
Mr. Chairman. This area in red, Bill, what was that gonna be again? How was that gonna be?
Its temporary measure will be striped with flex posts. So it will mark that you can't travel in that area.
Those are the ones that are being knocked down on the bridge over 131 or 160,
Well,
131?
they're flexible, so yes, that,
They can be knocked down.
right.
Your
But
car may not like it,
hopefully
but-
you don't just run over them on purpose, but that is.
Okay.
I mean,
And
so it's kind of a pilot to see whether it will work before spending a lot of money on it.
I'll tell you honestly, it just is a thought, I think we need sidewalks here like they have on the main street of Oxford.
With the flashing lights.
Well, yeah, the flashing lights and the little islands in the middle. I mean, the thought of, it's an easy walk from the campus. It's probably an easy walk coming back to the campus. I suspect the walk back to the campus might be a little more adventuresome depending on what's been consumed. So, believe me, the police put up the digital sign, okay, on Airport Road, which located, I think I measured it off about 2/10 of a mile from the intersection. They got somebody, this is a 30-mile-an-hour zone, they got somebody going through there, as I recall, at 72 to 74 miles an hour. There are stop signs down there. One would have to assume that they probably didn't do anything with regards to the stop signs, in other words, did not stop. And this was, I believe, in the early morning hours. The thought of any number of people having a certain jovial nature, as they're having perhaps stopped off at the den, as it's now called, trying to make it back to the campus, and somebody flying through there at 70-something miles an hour is not a very happy thought at all. I mean, the sidewalks you need, like on Center Road, if you will, if you go through the campus, you get those
Speed humps.
calming things or something like that.
Right.
That's, I think this thing is, if this is gonna be continued to market itself as a bar, and it's lost the distinction apparently of golf course and restaurant, then you gotta have something there that's really, really robust.
So one of the criteria for this program is speed management. So the police were out there recording speeds through that intersection.
Right.
So we can document what the existing speeds are, and then upon completion of this study, you go out and do the speed evaluations again to see whether the system has actually resulted in slower speeds and safer passes through the intersection.
Okay. All right, so that'll be talked about at the Board of Selectmen meeting on the 7th. You're gonna post that.
Do we have a time for when that meeting, I know the board of selectmen started at 6:30, but I'm assuming we won't be taking it at 6:30, do we know when we're gonna be on?
I think it's first up.
First up, excellent.
I'll confirm that.
6:30 p.m., okay. Bill, I just realized that we did forget one other zoning amendment. We had those gentlemen that came in from Route 131 that is currently having the problem where they were given a business license to have an automotive repair business at their home we need to find out that they are in I think it's a residential 43 zone. And so there was, I don't remember how many houses were involved with that situation. Is it 6 or 8 there?
Yeah, something like that, less than 10.
There's less than 10 houses there, and it's only on one side of the road. And what we found out tonight was we do have in town, we do have a Business 15 overlay district. So what kind of makes sense for them would be to leave them in the residential 43 zone as is, and just give them the Business 15 overlay district for those number of lots that are agreeable to have it for their businesses. And that way there, we don't really have to change anything, and they would get the uses by right that are available to them in Business 15, and we know that Business 15 does support the one use that they're saying is not allowed in the Res 43 zone. So,
that Business 15 overlay applies to portions of West Main
yep,
that are not zone business.
yep.
So it's kind of a way to make that entire corridor a business district. So I think it's, a good idea, actually, to extend that concept to this part of
They
town.
were gonna bring in, they were supposed to bring in, I know they were working on getting a petition for all the people that were between the two lots to sign, saying that they were acceptable to the business zoning.
Mhm.
So, if we could get in touch with them, do we have their name and telephone?
I do, yes.
Okay, and let them know that that would be our proposal for the upcoming town meeting, to sponsor an article for an overlay district on however many lots that they can get. We want them contiguous, but if they can get 6 or 8 neighbors to agree to this, then we would sponsor the article for whoever's agreeable to it. And just,
So I think your preference is to have the owners, do you want to sponsor that article, or do you want the neighborhood to sponsor that article?
we're gonna have to get up at town meeting and give a report to the town meeting, so I mean,
So,
in my opinion, we should be sponsoring it so we can have the public hearing and we can talk about it intelligently.
So to sponsor an article, you need a petition of 10 citizens, or the planning board can sponsor it. So
Right, so I'm
if you
saying-
don't sponsor it, they need to get 10 people to sign up.
I mean, I think, given the fact that the gentleman was issued a business license by the town, nobody told him he couldn't have a business there until after he started the business, and I think we owe him a little bit. So I think, yeah, I'm saying I think we should sponsor it for him. And at the same time, we can help out, some of his neighbors along the way, it's,
Okay.
it's doable.
Okay?
Does
Okay,
anybody
mate.
else?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
To that, Mr. Chairman, I agree, and I think it makes a lot more sense in terms of developing business along that route as opposed to going up Tubbs Hill.
187,
if you will.
or 197, is it? Sorry, 197.
We have some businesses a little further down. We have some at the other end of, if you will, going into Quinnebog. There's a car dealer there, a minimal lot size. And there has been a consignment garage there for some time. I believe it's consignment, I'm not exactly sure of the nature of the business. But, and there is another building there, an industrial building there that had been a manufacturing facility, and I believe it has something to do with the arts currently. And that is a relatively straight, if you will, flat
Flat road,
roadway, which goes into Southbridge, which goes into Quinnebog, which gives you access to a number of other areas, if you will, that are already developed industrially.
So could we just take a vote that will sponsor the article for the,
Well, let's see if the neighbors agree. What happens if we got
Yeah.
half the neighbors that don't want it?
okay, I guess we gotta wait to,
Yeah,
tell them we would be willing to sponsor it if they can get the petition
Agreement.
back to us with the neighbors in agreement.
But with the Biz 15 overlay, how would that affect the people who, that just allows those businesses to stay there. If someone wanted to start another business there, they would have to come before us anyway, right?
Nope.
And have to have a,
No, they would be able to continue, every lot that we put into Business 15 overlay district, they could have a business at their house.
Yeah.
okay, we can't make it a condition in an overlay district?
Nope, you're giving them the rights that's in that district, if you put their property into it.
Okay. All right.
It basically gives them the rights by use by right.
Well, yes, whatever is allowed in the Business
Business
15
15.
district, either by right or by special permit, would be the
Right.
same
Yep.
in the overlay district.
Yep. We're only talking about, I think, I can't remember what he said, I thought it was like 6 or 8, maybe 9 lots at the most,
Mm.
so,
It goes from like 70, number 70 to number 86, I think,
okay,
on that one side of the road.
right. Okay. And so it was like, I think it was like 8 or 9 lots when he was talking to us.
Yeah,
He did
There's
present,
both sides involved. I think that might have been some of the confusion. I think they.
well, when we talked to him, I thought it was easier if we just did it on one side of the road for now. If the other people across the street want something, they can come back and ask us, but, I mean, he wasn't, the two gentlemen that were
Mhm.
before us were on the same side of the
They
street.
were, they were.
So to me, it didn't make sense to jump it across the street if
I
it
think
wasn't
that was
necessary.
kind of the outcome of that discussion, was just focus on that one side of the street, but
Right.
we didn't shut the door on the other side. but-
Right, I mean, if the other people have a legitimate business interest,
Mr. Chairman, I would submit that we may be focused on one side, but the impact will be on both,
yeah.
unavoidably.
You know, part of the public hearing is to get feedback,
Right.
and you can amend the article if you think it should be extended on the other side, so.
Mhm.
Yep, okay. All right. Well, I guess that takes care of the zoning articles finally.
We're doing better than we usually do.
Okay, is there any other business we need to take care of tonight? Joe?
Yes, there's one other item. The Central Mass Regional Planning Commission has submitted a proposal to do an open space and recreation plan update for $14,000. And there's some desire to do that because having that plan in place makes the town eligible for grant money for purchasing open space or fixing up parks and playgrounds.
Right,
So, what the town administrator has asked is if the planning board would be willing to contribute its LPA time. I think I sent you the LPA report recently, which showed we have 24 hours
Yeah.
that the planning board has not committed to anything yet.
right.
So they would like you to contribute those hours to this plan, which would then lower that $14,000 cost.
Okay, so it's not enough to cover the entire plan,
No,
but it would help reduce that.
yes. I'm not sure what they value an hour at.
It's quite a bit, it's like $150 or something like that.
I don't think it's that much.
I thought it was.
Maybe, but I would be surprised. But
We
it
need
could
a
be,
motion in order to do that?
yes, it's your time, so, they would like you to contribute that if you think it would be worthwhile.
And then the intent is we're looking at parks and recreation facilities?
Yes.
Yes,
Mark.
and open space acquisition.
I don't think we need go any further than across the parking lot to see that there's a need for parks and recreation in this town. That thing is in abysmal condition and has been for a long time.
Okay.
I don't, the other, well, I'll get my soapbox going here. The other thing that, I don't know if this falls into that or not, but if you look at the cemetery on Center Road, we have now signs, welcome to the Dudley Hill Historic District. And one of the most immediate things, an immediate visual that you get is those two imitation Jersey barriers in orange in front of the cemetery. Noticed there was an accumulation of beer cans there this week as well. If, I don't know if it's not Parks and Recreation, but if there's something that could be done with that as part of this money or some money somewhere, that would be a.
That's Board of Selectmen and Cemetery Commissions.
Yeah, I know, the Board of Selectmen have been, all right, enough said. This has been on the table for a long time, and, as I said, the only thing that I've noticed as a change is the addition of the beer cans.
Okay. All right, so would somebody like to make a motion that we would give up the Central Mass Regional Planning hours to the Board of Selectmen for their Parks and Recreational, what did you say it was?
Open space and recreation
Open
plan.
Space and Recreation Plan.
So move.
So moved, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? That takes care of that.
The only other thing is there's a handout on the town election, so 3 members are up for election
Yeah.
this year, so.
I think I saw that.
That handout has timeframes in terms of pulling papers and getting signatures and that kind of thing, so if you're thinking of running again, be aware of the timeframes that are required. That is in tab H for those who are interested. Tom and Richard, I believe, are safe.
For the time being.
Right.
Safe is a relative term.
Okay. And there's,
Oh, another update on the tablets. We should be getting them for the next meeting.
okay,
The selectmen are getting new tablets. The planning board is inheriting their tablets,
old ones?
so they need to, clean those up. And then, the plan is that, all the files would be stored on the town's OneDrive, and planning board members would have a password to access all the files that would be stored there. So you could go and access them there without having to receive an email with all the attachments.
When people come into, like, any applicant that has for a subdivision, could, or, the mill overlay, or the mill, conversion, do they provide you everything in digital format, so you don't have to scan anything?
I asked them to do that.
Okay, so you're already getting it in digital format, so all you have to do is file it away for us.
Right.
And then we would have every document at our fingertips, the original documents right there to access at any time you want. So you can open up your tablet, go to the OneDrive, you'll find a folder for, say, the mill
Mhm.
conversion. You look, if you wanna see the, traffic study for the mill conversion, you can go find it right there.
Expand and enlarge.
Yep, and if you wanna find the, town's, report, our consultant engineer that reviewed it, you can find the review there, everything should be listed, everything should be able to be filed and documented that way, so that we don't have to have it large stacks of paper anymore. Okay.
So that's kind of the plan. If members don't want to get the tablets, that's fine too,
We're still gonna get emails.
That's, if you have a tablet, there'll be no need for it, because, I could let you know that the files have been posted, if that would be helpful.
What, excuse me, but the selectmen, they take the tablets home with them, or are they
That's what I was
here?
wondering.
I thought they kept them here.
They take them home.
You
They
can-
take them home?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's for your
Alright.
use,
Okay, all right, so
So
that would,
instead of your laptop, you just have a tablet.
right.
so that would, we wouldn't need the emails that you've been sending.
Correct.
And we'd save some trees. Okay.
So-
We're gonna need a tutorial on that.
Right, I was gonna say, there'll be some training.
Yes.
So maybe we'll do both for the next meeting, just so that if you have trouble with the access to the
Transition. okay.
files, yeah, well,
Okay. Yeah, it's the way of the future, so, paperless world.
yeah. Okay.
So that the last item, Bill?
Pardon?
Is that the last item?
Mhm.
Okay, so I'll ask again, is there anybody from the audience that wants to speak? Okay. All right. Then I guess we're
Planning board
ready for
members.
motion to adjourn?
Comments
How
from
about
the
any
board?
news on Hill Street Bridge?
The Brandon
Yeah.
Road Bridge?
Yeah.
So we have Ian Bond, our bridge consultant, and they are doing a design of a temporary bridge for the portion of there are two bridges on that road. One, it's called the Mill Race Bridge.
Yep.
And then as you continue into Webster, there's a bridge over the French River.
Yeah.
So the Mill Race Bridge is the one that's failed. So the consultant is working on a temporary bridge, and he's promised to have a 60% design of that bridge to us with a cost estimate in a couple of weeks, at which point there'll be a public hearing on that design for the public to come and comment. So the way that works is Mass DOT has these bridges in storage,
Right,
so it can be dismantled, brought to the site, and then assembled. So the town has to repair the concrete abutments that they sit on, and maybe do some surface work. I don't have the design, so I don't know
Right.
exactly, but.
might be a ramp up or down.
Right, so it's meant to be a very quick response rather than building a whole new bridge, because of the emergency nature of getting that bridge open again. It seems to be the quickest way to do it.
But this is only a temporary solution, at some point in time, we have to fix it.
It's a temporary solution which will last a long time. The thought is to then do both bridges as one project,
Okay,
put a permanent solution in for the mill race and replace the old French River Bridge, which was built in 1925. So that's gonna go eventually. So the plan is to put together a request to Mass DOT, let them know that we'd like this as one, both bridges as one project, and then have it work its way through their system.
Okay.
And this public hearing is gonna happen through the Board of Selectmen or?
Yes.
Board of Selectmen or planning board?
No, it's not it's a
No.
road matter, so it's not a
Okay.
planning board issue.
Yeah, they're the highway commissioners. in
Correct.
town.
Okay, great.
I think it's a convenience to the
Oh,
both
that's-
towns
that's all
if
right.
that's finally
Fixed.
done
Yeah.
Mhm.
quickly.
Okay,
Board comments?
I don't have any.
I have.
Okay.
I'm
Board
gonna let you off
comments?
the hook, that is.
Board comments?
We've done quite a bit in a fairly short time. I mean, we've essentially turned the town over to marijuana. We've dodged the bullet with regards to the overlay district, but obviously we have the Fish Road project, which will be reaching its final stage very shortly. We have what's happening on Chase Ave. We have the possibility of the overlay district coming back at us again. We also have with Stevens Mill, 156 or so odd dwellings, residences, if you will, probably the single largest addition in one fell swoop in the town, the history of the town. And one of the things that I've gone back to is the purpose, if you will, the rules and regulations, and I've highlighted for my own benefit some words. Safety, convenience, and welfare. Preserve the suburban character of the town by regulating the laying out and construction of ways, okay? Also talking about lessening congestion in such way in the adjacent public ways by reducing danger to life and limb, operation of motor vehicles, securing safety in the case of fire and so forth. I think we need to kind of reground ourselves, if you will, when we're talking about things like the Tufts Hill area. Honestly, I drive that road pretty regularly, and I see people, I don't know what exactly the speed limit is on that, but like many roads in town, the speed limit is optional, apparently, in the minds of Dudley drivers. And in light of the recent comments by the police chief, I think we need to be very careful in terms of what we want to do in some of these areas in town. The infrastructure is stretched. I think the police chief has already brought to our attention the fact that Pine Street is going to see a significant increase in traffic when Stevens Linden is finally open and populated. We have an infrastructure that's probably best characterized as appropriate for the 19th century, and we're no longer in the 19th century. We need to be very leery of that. And I would just, if anyone cared to do so, maybe just to take another look at that purpose. Also looking, if we can, to maintain what is identified as the suburban character of the community. I'm not running for anything.
Standing ovation.
Dan, you had some comments that you wanted to make?
Yeah, I did wanna make it, but we're moving along pretty quick tonight, so I almost don't wanna make it. I wanted to comment on the pace of our meetings. Things have been moving incredibly slow
Yeah.
for the past 6 months. Things are backing up. We're talking a lot. We're allowing people to talk a lot. We're repeating ourselves a lot. And I just think we have to find a way to pick up the pace a little bit, not only for the sanity of one of the board members, but also, we had people last meeting that were sitting out there for 2.5 hours waiting to come on. And I'm just, picture yourself out there waiting. It just, I don't know. I just think we have to try to get better organized. Chairman, you got a gavel there, you need to start gaveling people down if you need to, but we have to find a way to keep things moving.
I think if somebody makes the effort to come to the meeting to speak, you gotta give them that.
Oh, agreed, I'm not making of that, but when, after 45 minutes, the same things are being repeated over and over again, at some point in time, you can only hear things 10 times, and it's time to kind of throw the gavel. But that's my frustrated voice speaking, but just from a more of a rational standpoint, I just think there are ways that we can keep things moving and to keep, just make sure things are flowing so that we're serving not only the applicants, but also the community in the best way possible, so that we're taking good account of our time as well as theirs.
I mean, I think the hard thing is when we have 2 or 3 or more public hearings all the same night. That's not easy to do. I mean, in the future, we need to try to get it, I think if we can keep it to 1 or 2 public
Well,
hearings.
that would be a recognition. If we have 3 of them, then maybe we don't have to take 3 of them on the same night. Maybe we only have 2, you know, maybe we try to, I mean, again, I'm just spitballing, so there's a
Yeah.
lot of different reasons. Yes, we are very busy right now as well.
Yeah.
But I just think that there has to be a better way.
I mean-
Mr. Edmondson's point was, Mr. Chairman, we've already backed up a number of issues that we weren't able to complete or address at this meeting into our next meeting. In addition to which, we will have, I'm sure, an agenda in and of itself, so.
We'll have the Stevens Mill again, yeah?
And then we have prior to that, we have the Board of Selectmen meeting that we're gonna be involved with, so that one looks like a real marathon
Well,
session
yeah.
coming up.
I mean, is that our fault? We had the applicants here tonight, and they requested on their own, what, did they make the request to put it off?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so then we should have told them, no, not next meeting, because March 9th, we have the, Stevens Mill, we'll give them March 20, whatever it would have been.
Yes.
Then have to wait a month. I mean, that's, if they wanna walk out, that's their issue, but, I mean, we have a hard stop in theory at 10 o'clock every night, and we're here till
Right.
10 o'clock every damn night, if not longer.
I mean, I think we would have been able to vote on both of the Fish Road
Agreed,
items tonight if we had a full board.
agreed.
So, I mean, if we have a full board next time, we can vote on those 2 very quickly, and basically, we can cross those off the list for now. Then we'll just have the Stevens Linden Mill left.
What does the full board have to do with it? We just needed a simple a majority for each one of those, right?
No, we needed a supermajority.
Which means all 5?
Yep.
For
No,
both of them?
4 out of 5.
4 out of 5, that's my
So,
point. We
All
have
4
4.
of you could have voted, but you would have had to been unanimous. So it's his risk, really, whether he wanted to.
Right, so we couldn't have taken the subdivision one, because I have
You
to.
could have, that's only a simple majority, so you need.
Okay, so
3.
that, yeah, that would've been squared away then, that's what my whole point.
Right, so for
Yeah.
the same reason, he wanted to, to have an old cushion in case somebody was not in favor.
Right.
So the other item is setting the date for the public hearing on the zoning amendments.
Well, we have to do it so many weeks before the town meeting,
Right.
so.
So we could do it in April, I mean, we don't really need to set it now, or we could, just so,
Yeah,
for future planning purposes, we could know when that is.
so if we have it the last meeting in April, does it still make it in time for the because the town meetings, is it the first week of May or the last week of May?
It's
in June?
around it's the Monday before Memorial Day, I believe. By the town bylaw.
So is that May 30th,
23rd?
I think it's the 23rd,
23rd?
I believe.
That sounds about right.
So if we had, if we had it on the 27th
Of April.
of April, is that enough time? That's the
Well, that would give you
3 weeks,
another meeting in May,
yeah,
to consider any,
changes.
changes and whatnot.
Yeah, I think that's okay. April 27th?
That's a
All right
date.
with the rest of the board?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's plan for that, Bill.
I think the good news, Mr. Chairman, is that it looks like some of these things are coming to an end.
Yeah.
So,
I was very happy to see that the retaining walls were all designed by a professional engineer, so
Right.
that's good.
Mr. Chairman, if it's appropriate, I would make a motion, we adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn, do we have a second?
Second?
We have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Thank you, everybody, good
Yep.
night.